Yo, what's up? So this is Michael and Frank here. This is our first time brewing beer. So I've done this before a long time ago with a roommate of mine, Marjoma. But Frank, how many times have you brewed beer before in your life?
Never.
Never. So Frank has been reading this awesome brewery book. Do you have that handy, Frank? He's going to go run and get it. You can tell he's very excited. So while he's doing that, I'm going to talk through the kit real quick. So what we're doing is we're going to be doing an Irish ale. This is like the standard issue. Everybody brews their first beer, Irish ale, nothing special. Irish red. What we've got here is brew kettle, carboy, and then 2 5-gallon tubs. So what we're going to do is we're going to sparge the grains, we're going to steep and sparge the grains with this. We're going to boil your mash with this, and we're going to transfer into here for primary fermentation. And you're like, well, what about the other 5-gallon bucket, Mike? Well, the reason why we have this is that's basically sanitization. So that's going to be like our pseudo sink. The rest of the kit we have here is our funnel with the filter. Use the filter. So the funnel and the filter are so when we put the grains in the magic sock and we steep it, and then we go to put it into our boiler, our kettle, that we get to we get all the sedimentation out. We're doing a extract malt brew, so we have this dude, which is dry malt extract, and this dude, which is liquid malt extract. For our hops, I'm not going to attempt to read this. Fuggles? I don't know. Fuggles?
3 ounces.
Looks fuggle to me. And then Frank, let's see this home brewing. How much time have you spent? Show the audience. Doesn't he look happy? Look at those eyebrows, man.
They're bushy. They're very bushy eyebrows.
Bushy. So Frank, what have you learned about home brewing in this home brewing book?
It should be relatively fun.
Okay.
Fermentation.
What's the coolest part that you've learned?
So far, reading about the process of fermentation is written pretty cool in this book, and them talking about yeast.
So you want to be a yeast jockey?
No, I want to be a yeast herder.
Yeast herder. So wait a minute, are you telling me that you want your own yeast?
Yes, I want my own yeast. His
own yeast. So, but seriously though, so you got this when we went to, what was the name of that place we went to?
It was a homebrew store.
Steve, he tells me all the time, he's like, my Piscean memory is so great, but he can't remember the name of the homebrew store.
No, but it was a little hole-in-the-wall store with an old guy. We just walked up to the door. Guy hooked us up.
He was like, so you can't really come in because of the COVID, but I can get you a kit.
10 minutes later, guy pops out with a kit and everything we need.
He's like, give me cash.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. He was a good guy.
And in this was that book, right?
Yeah. He had this book sit as part of his homebrew kit.
So show what's one cool thing you've learned. Like pull it open. Let's crack this book up.
You want to crack this book open?
I want to crack the book open. I want to learn about your nerdiness.
I feel you.
I hope you don't feel me too much.
Wow, that's pretty intense. Am I going to claim to need an adult?
I don't know, but I'm gonna get the sound of you flipping pages. So what is this?
So what we have here is they're kind of showing you the process of fermentation. So you have the initial stage, which is growth of the yeast, and it reaches after 8 hours, about 40 or 50 million yeast in the solution for 5 gallons.
Okay.
And then they start chewing up all the sugars, like the malt extract that's in it, or all the malt that's in solution.
Mm-hmm.
They chew up that, create all the goodies, the alcohol, ethanol, and then you get the sedimentation stage where they start falling asleep.
Okay.
And so that's pretty awesome.
So they get drunk on their sugar and then they fall asleep?
Pretty much.
So how many yeast are they going to have in 5 gallons?
5 million.
Should we send them a census?
Actually, it's 5 million per milliliter or something. It's ridiculous. It's a lot of yeast.
Should we have a census? Should we try to get a population?
I think we should. We should do yeast counting. 1 yeast, 2 yeast, 3 yeast. It'd be pretty intense. We might die before we count them all, though. And they might die, too.
This is us when we're sober. So we're going to fix that. Frank, what are you drinking on brew day?
On brew day, I'm drinking a 7-layer milk stout right here. And Mike's drinking
Nutter butter. Chocolate peanut butter porter. We're going to go for dark beers today. So, with that, Frank, let's crack it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's brew some beer.
Let's brew some beer.
We'll catch you on the flip side after this boil, and we get everything kettle or in the carboy. We'll go from there.
Yeah.
Enjoy. I think Frank is ready for the next stage of this video. So Frank, what have we completed so far?
We have started the process of steeping the grains to produce some malt.
Steeped grains. So what does that mean, Frank? Is it time for... What are we doing right now? We're waiting for...
The steeping process to occur.
And, yeah.
We're waiting for the cracked grains to... so we had to heat water to 160. We're waiting on the cracked grains for that reaction to actually pull out the malt that's sitting there, all that sugar that the yeast is going to eat.
The yeast herder speaks his truth.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so that means it's time for beer number 2, correct?
Yes, it is time for beer number 2.
And what are you going to have for beer number 2, Frank?
Matte Black.
Show the audience in pictographic format.
Pictographic form.
Pictographic format.
Michael is going to some weird IPA sour thing with a burn on.
Inexplicable unease.
Hey, there's a bird on it, so he's going to drink it.
It's a blue jay.
Hey, don't forget about the B on the back. We got to have the B.
Gotta have the what?
We got to have the B on the back.
What about the C? Or the D? Maybe E?
Yeah.
What about F? F is left out.
F feels very alone. Here's your beer.
All right, so let's crack it. From here, this is going to be IPA with, don't drink yet, you're supposed to cheers, Gewürztraminer grapes. Can you read that? I can barely read that. The words. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
That is an intense beer. That is full of flavor.
Very hoppy. Hop, hop, hop.
Hop, hop, hop. Do you know the birds hop? They also fly. Why did you? So we actually so interesting here. So we're gonna drink and talk while we're waiting for the grains to steep. We had a decision about the shirts we were gonna wear to do this, and you chose a red shirt. Why?
Because we're making a red ale. Duh. You got to wear red when you're making red ales.
You heard it here first, folks. You must wear red while making red ales. So I wore this really cool, like, tree shirt with the hands and stuff because they say that beer is what created civilization. So this is deeply metaphorical. The hand of God, the celestial being, growing civilization. Yeah, you like that? Yeah. Deeply metaphorical.
Good.
He's related to me. And he's like, yeah, I gotta put up with this shit all the fucking time.
I live with him.
You live with me?
Yeah. We share an apartment. It's cost effective.
I guess so.
That's the face he makes when he drinks IPAs.
Pretty much, yeah, he's not wrong. All right, so we're going to drink and continue listening to the playlist. We have chosen 90s alternative for the music choice today. Thus far, we have listened to Offspring, Smash. Now we are on to Weezer's Blue album. And next up, I believe, some Green Day. So, with that, cheers.
Cheers.
All right, we are back. We just finished the sparging step. Frank, how did sparging make you feel?
How did it make? It was fun. We had fun. We modified the instructions a little bit, used a more unique sparging method, but it worked out pretty well.
Talk us through this method, Frank.
Talk us through the secret method? What do you mean? Okay, so what we did was, instead of doing a multi-pot kind of boil where you bring a 1 gallon of sparging fluid to 170 degrees, and then you kind of pour everything into a 5-gallon bucket, like your initial gallon and a half partial mash into the bucket through a filter, and then sparge your fluid. What we did was we brought it to about 180 degrees, our sparging fluid, or our sparging water, 1 gallon of water to 180 degrees. We brought that. We took all our mash that's been steeping for an hour and poured that back
into the kettle.
Into the kettle, and then we pulled out the 4 pounds of grains and dropped that into our filter, our funnel filter, into our 5-gallon bucket, and then we poured everything through that process through there. It worked pretty well. Michael, we did some siphoning stuff.
Yeah, we rigged up a siphon, so it was pretty cool. So as Frank was grabbing this like 2.5 gallons of 150 degree water, he goes, "You should stand back." I'm like, all right, I'll step off to the side. So I stepped off to the side, and as he was pouring it, like water is getting everywhere. We have like we have mash everywhere. I'm like, like I want to drink the beer, not wash the floor in the beer. So
it wasn't quite that bad. There's a little bit down there.
He's lying. Fibber. Don't trust men who wear red shirts. Right? So
yeah. Okay, so moving on.
So what we did is we actually grabbed a 3/8 tube of polytubing and rigged up a siphon from the kettle into the bucket that was on the floor. Let me see if I can steer. Yeah. That bucket right there was right there. And so what we did is we funneled over and yeah, so we funneled over. Yeah, Frank giving a live in-home demonstration for all of us.
Yeah, we were doing this.
You should sell vacuum cleaners, bro.
You're welcome. Anytime.
So we got that going, and we got to like the little last bit, and then Frank was like, "I want all of the goodness from the sparging, the steeped malt liquid into my beer." So what we did is we took that and we poured like the last little bit, like half gallon, into the through the filter. Yeah. It actually worked out pretty well. Like, so there's a little filter right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
And
didn't have a whole lot in it actually.
Yeah, because we were putting the grains directly in here. The grains actually acted like a filter. The instructions actually say to put a colander in here. We modified those. So we used the idea was to use the grains as the filter, and all of it got actually built up around the sides, and all that goodness left in the bottom of the pot actually got stuck in the grains. So, which is kind of cool.
And we're gonna drink it.
We are gonna drink it.
We're getting ready to do what right now? We're getting ready to boil a mash, right?
Yeah, we're getting ready to boil the mash. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our roughly 2.5 gallons or 2 gallons of mash that's sitting in the bucket on the floor over there, and we're going to add our liquid malt to the pot in the background here, into that background, and then we're going to pour our mash into, or our wort into
Now you're doing okay. We might be messing up the vocabulary. Remember, we are now 2 beers deep.
2 beers deep in like 2 hours. We're actually going to take our wort and pour
He's a lightweight.
We're gonna take the wort and pour it into the malt, and kind of heat up the malt and try to get some of that temperature to transfer. The temperature of what's in the bucket, the wort in the bucket, is about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna pour that stuff in, and then we're gonna add we're gonna throw in our hops and our powdered malt into the solution.
So one thing that we oopsied on is that this is our yeast. And we forgot to take our yeast out of the fridge until just now. So it says warm slowly to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. 21 degrees C. Mix contents well. Cut package with sanitized scissors. So we're gonna let this warm up for the next hour or so, hour and a half probably. You're gonna see me disappear because I've been relegated to go listen to classical music, which they play gracefully for us outside. Get ice to our wort. So while Frank is doing the boil, you get to see Frank do the boily stuff like a chemist, like a wizard in his pot. Boily, 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 boily. I'm gonna go play Gopher and go get ice. But yeah, that's pretty much what you're gonna see is we're gonna mix up this malt and this wort. But first, Frank, the introduction. What do we got?
So right now we got.
Show the camera. The audience cares. The audience cares.
Okay, let's actually get these right so you can.
Oh, look at it. Oh, damn. So what do we got? We have the 407 Pilsner, 407, and the Dulciana Sour. So I'm gonna be drinking the sour. Frank is rocking the pills, and this is beer numero 3 for us, which is actually kind of fitting because mine is brewed by Three Dogs Brewing Company. Over his finger. Let's hear. Watch this.
Yeah, but I wanted to show.
Three dogs. The three dogs.
I wanted to show
Three
the
dogs.
back with the IBUs and all the other alcohol content.
The stats.
The stats.
So Frank wants to give you the beer stats. Frank, could you please read us the beer stats in your best beer stat announcer voice?
Beer stat announcer. Okay, so for the 407 Pilsner, we got 4.5% alcohol, and the IBUs are 22. It's best served.
What's the OG and the SRM?
We don't need to read that.
Yes, we do. We have beer connoisseurs listening to this channel, watching this channel. Yet you're not going to read the beer connoisseur data,
Fine.
the statistics.
Sure. The OG is 1.045% or 45, which is a hydrometer reading, and then SRM of 3.5.
Ooh,
It's best served at
3.5.
42 degrees.
42 degrees.
This doesn't have those same stats, but its alcohol percentage is 4.3.
And this is a
Sour.
original craft beer canned with lactose mango, lulo. I'm not going to read that word. And Terramond. 4.3% Dulciana.
Let's crack the beer.
Crack the beer. All right. On 3. We're going to have simultaneous stereophonic beer crackage. Yeah, check that out. This I'm failing, dude.
Ready? You want me to pre-crack it for you?
No, don't make fun of me, jackass.
I've had problems the last two
There we
beers.
go. One, two. Ah!
Drink that beer. Drink. Go. Mike's and Frank's beer making adventures.
Fucking sour all over my face, bro.
That does not sound right.
Drinking the sour beer. This is actually a really good sour.
It's a Pilsner. It tastes pretty good.
You heard it here first, folks. It's a pure Pilsner. It tastes pretty good. ready to boil some wort, bro?
Fuck yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Peace. All right, Michael and Frank back here with our mid-boil update. Mid-boil update. What do we have here, Frank? It's time to drink beer number 4.
Orange Blossom Brewery. It's an
Orange
IPA
Blossom.
at 11% alcohol. I called Michael kind of pansy on this one. He wanted to split one of these. We got to go big. Come on. We're finishing brew day up here. Like,
Right.
We're
so,
mid-boil.
so what is happening in that pot? Right there.
It's boiling. We're boiling the malt.
The wort.
The wort. Sorry, we're boiling the
So
wort.
are we witches? Do we have a wort?
I
wort.
keep thinking about
Or
witches
wort.
and warts.
No wort.
Like that's what
Right
a
there.
witch was always making in her pot. She was evil because she was mixing
was
her
making-
pot alcohol. That's
So we're
a
like-
dangerous person. We're like witches.
We're like witches brewing our wort. We're going to cast a spell on you.
But I
Brewing our wort.
but I think the male version is witches are female and we're actually warlocks.
No, warlocks are not female. Warlocks are anti-witch.
Oh, warlocks are
Yes,
anti-witch.
anti-witch, yes. You need to get up to date on your witchcraft, Frank. Don't you know these things?
No, I do not. I don't spend a lot of time in rock stores. Crystal rock stores.
How do I live with this guy? Whatever. Anyway, so we are at our wort update. The wort is boiling. We have half an hour left. That stove is crying, trying to keep up.
Yes, it is. It's barely. Actually, the stove is barely able to keep up. There is a rolling boil, and the only way we got to the rolling boil was to put the cover on the little pot. Otherwise, we'd probably still be standing here.
Lid was the word you were looking for.
It's a cover. Hey, everything has synonyms. Okay. It's kind of like cinnamon. Which.
Are you trying to tell me that cinnamon is a synonym for synonym?
No. What is it? That'd be like a hominin or whatever. I failed at school, so whatever.
But I don't know. Earlier we were watching you being very studious with your brewing book. And what did you learn, Frank? You were telling me some interesting facts about the way we were sparging our fluid and aeration and other scientific topics of beer making.
Yeah, so 3 beers in, I'm reading this. I'm still reading the fucking brewing book. Or I'm still reading the brewing book. And we're, so the way we were sparging actually appears to be right. Or our modification appears to be very close to right. Because a lot of the stuff that people want us to do, or like the book suggests, is all related to the filter clogging up. The grains are providing a general filter, and then his siphoning method in spreading it around on top of the grains, keeping a constant fluid level, was spreading out, preventing clogging of the grain bed. So we're kicking butt here, and we didn't, when we pulled that out, I think we said this before, in our little funnel with the strainer in it, or the filter actually, there was nothing stuck in there. All our stuff was on the side or in the grain bed. So we were kicking butt, and we were roughly at the correct temperature, 170 to 180.
You know what I call these ladies and gentlemen? Dumb luck. Do you know what I like about dumb luck? It's free, and it shows up. Meh, serendipity. I'll take it.
Absolutely.
And with that, do you know what I have to say about that, Frank? It is time for a double crack.
It is.
Orange Blossom, 11%. Please allow me to rotate my beer so it's correctly oriented. So, I mean, wait, you were going to read the details.
Oh, I'm forced to read the
Yes,
detail?
you are forced to read the details. The statistician of the detail orientedness of the beers.
You're talking about all this on the side? I don't
No,
know.
you're going to read the stats, like the alcohol concentration. Is there an IBU?
No, there's none of that. It just says the level 11% alcohol by volume. Blossom Pilsners cut the water in volume fraction, which is some awesomeness sauce we call OBP2, a double dose of all natural ingredients, including real orange blossom honey. No refined sugars, 12% alcohol by volume. It's the bee's knees, brah. Let's crack this beer.
Let's crack this beer.
You want me to get your beer pre-cracked and you can have
No, I don't need you to get my beer pre-cracked. Yes.
Ready?
2, 3.
Two, go. Got this one right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Pretty good.
Yeah. And
That-
that's definitely going to be the last beer of the day.
That tastes like honey and
Great decisions.
honey and hops. That's amazing. We need more of this. Good times. The brewing.
To brewing.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, here we are. Beer number 4. Frank, what have we completed so far today in the brew?
So we've completed the so far we have completed the boil step of the malt. So we boiled for 50 minutes.
It's warty.
It's warty. Our stove nearly died at the process of boiling. We threw in our hops while boiling and all that stuff. That worked out pretty well. We once we got to boiling for 50 minutes, we pulled it off the stove, cooled it down, pitched hops.
Yes, we pulled it off. We let it sit. We put an ounce of hops in.
Yeah, we put 1 ounce of hops in. We let it steep for 5 minutes.
And then we chilled the wort.
We chilled the wort. So the way we chilled the wort is we transferred it over to our sink here, dropped in 20 pounds of ice, and it created a nice little airlock. It took about 20 minutes to get down to 100, about 95 degrees. And then we started to clean everything.
Then we had 2 gallons of water in the freezer.
We had 2 gallons of water in the freezer. Yes, exactly. And we took our funnel that we have over there in the sink. We cleaned that out. We sterilized it for like the 9th time today. We dropped it in our carboy. We put it in our carboy. We put the water into the carboy, the 2 gallons of very cold water. We got all the ice out of it, so on the filter, we had about 1.5 inches of ice sitting there. And then we passed
the warm wort,
the 95 degrees wort, through that ice. It melted it, and the hops grabbed all the filter grabbed all the hops. 3 beers in here with 11% at the end, like 5 or 6 in. The filter grabs all the hops, and we found that a swishing motion back and forth across the filter allowed good fluid flow to occur through that filter media. And then we put that through.
So then what we did is we used a spatula that we had sterilized to like squash the hops particulate
against the wall.
Squeeze all of the wort flavor out of the earth.
Going to have very hopsy beer, maybe.
Hopsy
beers.
Hoppy
Beer. And then the one thing we didn't do is the 2 gallons of water, those 2-gallon jugs, we didn't actually sterilize those.
Whoops.
That's a failure on our part. We kind of foobarred that one. He's pointing at me. It is a failure on my part.
This is his job. He had one job to brew the beer.
Since I'm taking the lead today, but we ended up filling up the carboy with an additional half gallon after sterilizing these gallon water jugs that we have in the background. And what's nice is that the carboy currently,
check this out.
I don't know if we can see this on camera, but there is kind of a gradient. About 70%.
You mixed it. It's no more gradient. There was
a gradient.
So the point we're getting at is that now is the time for Frank, the yeast herder, to pitch the yeast. Frank, are you ready to pitch the yeast?
I am ready to pitch the yeast.
Watch this. Ooh, ooh, ooh. He sterilized the yeast packet. We have sterilized scissors. We're going to pitch the yeast.
The yeast out of the way of the scissors.
Pushing it out of the way of the scissors.
We're cutting.
We are cutting.
We're dropping it off. We're pulling it out.
Pulling out the yeast. Oh, look at that. That yeast. So much bacteria. So little space. So little time. One giant step for man, one giant leap for yeast kind. Don't laugh at me. Oh. And we've sterilized the cap and the stopper. The airlock, the cap, the stopper. The airlock, the cap, the stopper. All right, so we're gonna shaky, get all that yeast. There you go. Not quite. Frank's trying. Come on, make a mess. Yeah. Have you ever seen a grown man struggle?
Liquid, so aerate the wort so we can actually have the yeast reproduce.
Aerate the wort so we can have the yeast reproduce.
Yeah, I know. We're trying to help them out in the reproductive stage. Whatever that was called, I forgot.
You read the book and you don't remember?
It's the respiration stage.
So you know what this means, Frank? We have beer ready to beerate.
We do, and I'm going to transfer this to my closet.
You take it to the closet. But you know what that means? On your way back, you know what you get to grab, Frank?
Ice cream?
What was that?
Ice cream!
Did you see that? That was victory ice cream. So we're gonna watch Frank take the beer. Bye, Frank. Bye. Bye, Frankie. He's disappearing off the frame. Bye. So, now that Frank has taken our wort with the yeast, what we are going to do is discuss the beers. Beer number 4. So, I have the Comes and Goes. This is a Goes wit cider, fruity and spiced. 4.9% alcohol. Ingredients: New York apples, orange zest, coriander, organic orange, extract, pink sea salt. 0 sugar, 100 calories. It's so polite, 100 calories. Gluten-free, yes. Crafted and canned by Graft Cider in Newburgh, New York. Hashtag Future Cider. Right. Then what we have is the Parmesan Hollow Blood Orange Wheat Ale. Woo! DeLand, Florida. We're looking at 5% alcohol, 20 IBUs, International Bitterness Unit. Keep refrigerated. Best served below 45 degrees. All right. Now, Frank, that we have created our first beer. You're taking the Blood Orange Wheat.
Yes.
I'm taking the Comes and Goes. We're going to crack these. We're going to sip them. Then we shall toast the ice cream. All right. Ready?
Yep. 1, 2, 3, go!
All right. So, I'm repping the Haagen-Dazs pretzel caramel. Frank, what are you repping?
Vanilla milk chocolate almond. I can't speak here. All milk is malt now, apparently, in my language.
Fucking drunk, I don't know, whatever. So anyway, we're going to crack this. Yep. I know this is stereophonic. You're hearing The sound of the rustle of the package and the microphone.
Super annoying.
All right. Our first beer.
Our first, yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us on our first brew day. It's a